The Sterling submachine gun was developed at the end of World War II in response to a British demand for a lighter submachine gun that fired at a slower rate of fire than the standard Sten gun, which had been developed during the war. As a result, George Patchett, who is the chief designer for the Sterling Armament Company in Dagenham, England, went to work on it, and he produced this Patchett machine carbine.
The Patchett submachine gun, as it was called, was not officially adopted during the Second World War, but it did experience combat during the Second World War. And then in the aftermath of the war, wartime overproduction was such that Sten submachine guns remained in service through until the 1950s. By that time, though, the firearms were reaching the end of their service life. It was time to consider a replacement. And so the UK reached back toward the old Patchett submachine gun from right there at the end of World War II. This reimagined version of the Patchett incorporated a new magazine, a newly designed magazine, which, rather than just a standard hard follower, the follower is composed of two rollers, and these rollers reduce the friction within the magazine body, ensuring that the weapon will feed effectively and reliably.
Sterling was one of the few exceptions to the rule that you can't successfully offer a new submachine gun commercially and expect to make any money at it. For some years, Sterling did precisely that.
It's a light gun, stock folds underneath, has this curved magazine, but the bolt itself has helical cut grooves in it, which help in clearing out any kind of powder foul-ups, but also has a double mainspring system. And what this does is allows the bolt to be much smaller in mass. It increases the accuracy and the ability to hold it on target, but also, interestingly, when it strips the cartridge, going forward, the firing pin is not really lined up with the primer until just before it enters in the chamber, and just a millisecond before it finally seats, that's when it fires.
From 53 onward, it serves for nearly 4 decades as the 9mm submachine gun that arms English troops during a period of time when much technology and innovation is pulling away from the open bolt 9mm submachine gun. And yet the Sterling was such an effective design and so reliable that it continued to serve all the way through the Gulf War. And it served particularly the 1982 74-day-long Falkland Islands War. During the war, there are 2 Victoria Cross awards for ground combat. And one of them is the man who was the battalion commander of the 2nd Battalion of the Parachute Regiment, as we call it, 2-Para. In attempting to prevent his men from losing momentum in their assault, Herbert Jones yelled for his men to follow him, picked up his L2A3 Sterling submachine gun, racked the bolt, and conducted a charge. And while conducting and carrying out this charge, he was struck by fire and killed, and therefore was subsequently posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross. And he led this attack carrying the Sterling submachine gun.